Hi everyone, welcome to a new series where we will be featuring stories from the second annual Story Slam event. At this Story Slam, students came up to an open mic and shared their personal global story anecdotes to their peers. We are very excited to share their stories for others to hear. This episode is given by Jordan Martin.
When people ask me about my study abroad experience, I usually say the same thing. It was absolutely amazing. I wish I could have stayed there forever. And in some ways, that's true. But what I don't usually tell people is that there were moments, real raw moments, when all I wanted to do was go home. The funny thing is, when I look back now, those moments, the ones that felt overwhelming, frustrating, impossible, are the ones that I now cherish the most. Because somehow, every single one of them worked out in the end. And the homesickness, it was real. Some days it sat on my chest like a weight, making me wonder why I couldn't just enjoy the beautiful places I was in the moment. And here's the thing about being out of your comfort zone: you either sink or you swim. And somewhere in between missing home and pushing through the tough, hot days, I grew. I learned to sit with my discomfort instead of running from it. As a type A person, I learned that uncertainty doesn't have to be scary, it can be exciting. I learned that even on the most difficult days, there is beauty to be found, like during the time when we took a weekend trip to the Amalfi Coast. We had spent weeks on our tiny island of Procida. While it was bright and beautiful, we were itching to explore. So when we finally had a free weekend, we packed our bags, caught the ferry to the mainland, and made our way to Positano. The plan was pretty simple: travel to our Airbnb in the evening, then spend the next day unwinding at the beach, shaking off the exhaustion of the busy week before. But of course, nothing went as planned. Our first challenge that morning: getting to the bus stop. It turns out the stop was 2 miles straight uphill, no shade, no breeze, just a relentless, punishing climb. With every step, our legs burned, sweat dripped down our backs, and cars whizzed past us, windows down, drivers staring at us like we were insane for even attempting this on foot. And honestly, they weren't wrong. In the days leading up to the trip, homesickness had been creeping in. I had never been this far away from home ever, and it was starting to weigh on me. But I kept telling myself that this weekend would help, that seeing somewhere new, experiencing more of the world would pull me through it. Maybe that's why, as we trudged uphill, every single step felt heavier than just exhaustion. I wanted this trip to shake my homesickness, to remind me that why I came here in the first place. When we finally reached the top, we found a tiny convenience store, the kind that sells postcards in the window and a fridge full of cold drinks. We bought our bus tickets, grateful for a chance to sit down, and collapsed into the curb outside. Sweat stuck to our skin, our bags felt twice as heavy, and we sat there, waiting, watching the road, watching the clock, waiting for us to finally be on our way. By the time the bus finally appeared in the distance, we thought the hardest part was over. And then the bus came, and we saw people packed like sardines, and it kept going. We stood there stunned, watching our ride disappear down the road without even slowing down. We waited another 40 minutes for the next bus, only for the same thing to happen. And that's how we ended up crammed into a van with two other travelers who had also been stranded by the bus, gripping the seats as we tore around in narrow, twisting roads of the Amalfi Coast. With every sharp turn, we braced ourselves, convinced we were one swerve away from going off the cliff. I had to keep reminding myself that this is what our driver did for a living. And when we finally stepped out, the view didn't even seem real. So many colorful buildings and water so blue, it almost looked fake, with the sunlight dancing across the waves. It was the kind of place you see on postcards and on puzzles, the kind of place that people dream about going. And for a moment, I forgot every ounce of stress it took me to get there. If you know anything about Positano, you know that there are so many stairs. We made our way down in the heat, our bags digging into our shoulders, until we found a beach. But not the kind of beach that you would imagine. There was no soft sand, no gentle shoreline, a rocky beach, the kind that makes you wince when you aren't wearing any shoes. I went to lay down, ready to finally relax, except I had forgotten my towel. Perfect. Now, after all that, I couldn't even get comfortable and relax. This is when I felt like it was my breaking point. I needed space and I needed air. I went into the water alone while my friends stretched out on their towels, soaking up the sun. But despite the beauty, the homesickness lingered, stronger than ever. It had been creeping in all day, and now standing in the clearest water I had ever seen, it washed over me all at once. I kept wondering why I couldn't just enjoy this like everyone else. I knew I should have been grateful, but instead I just felt off, like I was sinking, pulled down by homesickness, by the weight of being so far from everything familiar. But I also knew that the only way out was through. So I swam, I pushed myself forward, letting the water move me around. And when I finally made my way back to shore, I grabbed my phone and called the only person I could think of to talk to. Because when you feel like this, who else do you call besides your mom? She picked up on the first ring. The moment I heard her voice, the tears came fast. I spilled everything, how I felt guilty for missing home when I was literally in my dream place, how I couldn't even enjoy it the way my friends seemed to. She listened like she always does. She told me it hurt her to hear me so upset, but she understood. My feelings were real and they mattered, and she also reminded me this opportunity doesn't come around often. That one day, I'll look back at this and wish I could step back into this moment again, even with all my confusing emotions. Just talking to her helped a lot. My mood started to shift, not all at once, but enough. I focused on what was around me, the steady crash of the waves, the sun warming my skin, my friends' laughter floating through the air. I let myself be in it, even if it wasn't perfect. And then, as the universe had been waiting for a perfect moment, it started to downpour. We quickly packed our things and ran, trying to cover our heads like that was going to do anything. But soon it became pointless. We were soaked, our Birkenstocks drenched, mascara running down our faces, and hair sticking to our faces as well. We found an arch to huddle under while walking up the stairs, watching the rain come down in sheets. There was another group of girls who joined us, not locals, but travelers like us, and they were just as drenched, but instead of looking miserable, they were laughing, wringing out their towels like it was all part of the adventure. We exchanged names, stories, little pieces of our lives. They had just graduated and were on a post grad trip, seeing the world before settling into whatever came next. They were bright, easy to talk to, the kind of people that you meet for a moment but remember forever. And then someone pulled out their phone and started playing Latin music. Without hesitation, we kicked off our shoes, the cool tile beneath us slick with rain that had blown in from the storm. One of the girls started a conga line, and the rest of us fell in step, moving together, salsa dancing, twirling, laughing off the day. The weight of homesickness, of expectations, of everything I thought I should feel had melted away. We sang at the top of our lungs, soaking wet and breathless, in a place none of us could be forever, but would never truly leave behind. And for the first time that day, I didn't wish to be anywhere else.
Hi, listeners. We'd like to remind you that the opinions expressed by our guests on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Center for Education Abroad or the University of Rochester. Our podcast aims to foster dialogue, critical thinking, and exploration of various topics related to education abroad. We encourage listeners to consider multiple viewpoints, engage in respectful discourse, and form their own opinions. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our community.